Hi everyone, I'm Bee, and welcome back to Read and Roam. Last time we brainstormed story ideas for this story writing competition, and now it's time to plan the plot. Let's get started. So, before we get into planning the plot, what exactly is plot? It's what happens in a story in order, with each event connecting to the next to help the story make sense. To plan, we'll map the beginning, middle, and end using a plot map. This is a tool that helps us organize the most important parts of a story. A while ago, we used this plot map. It's shaped like a mountain because stories usually start calmly, build up to the conflict, and finally settle down at the end. We know this isn't the only way a story can go, but it's a strong structure we'll use to plan today. Planning is an important step in writing because it helps us organize our ideas so the story makes sense. Without planning, we might forget parts of the story or mix up the order. It's also important to know we're not writing the full story yet. At the planning stage, we're just writing short notes to show what happens. We'll save the extra details for another day when we're writing our rough draft. In this video, you'll help me plan my story. Then you'll use what you've learned to plan your own. First, let's recap my story idea. I chose a big city in the future as my setting, a clever scientist as the main character, and the conflict was that the scientist built a robot, but it escaped and caused chaos in the city. Now, we can start planning. Let's start at the beginning. In this part, we need to introduce the main character and the setting. So, I'll write, Laura, a scientist, lived in a futuristic city. Then, we can hint at the conflict that's coming by describing what the character's doing. I'll add, she was working on a robot. Now, I want to include another sentence about Laura building the robot. I'll give you two ideas to choose from. She was building a silver robot with lights. Or she wanted to build a robot that could help clean up the city. Which idea do you think is more important to include in my plot map? Pause the video to choose. Let's check. The second idea is more important because it tells us why Laura actually wanted to build the robot. The first idea, which describes what the robot looks like, is fine when we're actually writing the story, but when we're making our plot map, it's more important to focus on the character's motivations, like why they want to do something. That's because these details lead to the other events in the story. Okay, what else could we include? We can add other important events, characters, or details. I'll add, Laura will show her robot to the mayor at a big event tomorrow. Great! This is a strong beginning. Notice how I'm not writing a full paragraph with complete sentences that flow together. I'm just recording the most important ideas. Now let's plan the middle. This is where the conflict happens. In most stories, the middle is the longest and most exciting part. At the end of our beginning section, I wrote that Laura planned to show her robot at an event. So now I'll add, Laura went to the event. What was the conflict? The robot escaped. So I'll add, the robot glitched and zoomed through the crowd. Now it's your turn. I want you to add more details about the conflict. What chaos could the robot cause that keeps the story exciting and makes sense in this setting? Pause the video to record 2 to 3 of your own ideas that describe what the robot did during the conflict. I'm going to put the robot stole people's hats and bags. It went onto the road and caused a traffic jam. It emptied trash cans on the sidewalk. It's okay if yours is different. Just make sure it shows what the robot did during the conflict. Now, we need to say what Laura did. How do you think she'd react? I'll say, Laura chased after the robot. Then I'll add a little more. In a futuristic city setting, how might she try to fix the problem? I'll add, she used her smartwatch to track the robot. And she went on her hoverboard. Great! I'm happy with how the middle's looking. When you plan your story, feel free to add new characters, different settings, or more events. As long as the story makes sense, then you can be as creative as you want. Finally, let's plan the end. This last section doesn't need to be long or turn out happy for everyone. It just has to show the resolution. Basically, we need to include how the main character handled what happened or how things returned to normal. Based on what I've written so far, what could the resolution be? Pause the video to record your own ideas about the events that show how the conflict got solved and how the story ends. Here are some questions to help you. Did Laura catch the robot? What did the mayor think, say, or do? And what did Laura learn when she solved the conflict? Okay, here's my version. Laura cornered the robot at the top of a tower, and she turned it off. To wrap up the story, I'll add, the mayor thanked Laura for fixing the problem. And I'll also describe what Laura learned. She promised to fix her robot. That's my ending. It includes the resolution and describes what the character learned. Now I have my plan. I've made notes on what happens in the beginning, middle, and end. Next, I'll read through it to make sure it makes sense. Remember, good writers always check their work. Now you're ready to plan your story. In your lesson materials, you'll find everything you need to make your story idea come to life. See you soon. And remember, where there are words, there's a world to explore.
Hey, hey.